sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UPNradio.com.
One of them wanted to be the security guy. He claimed he was a security guy.
Welcome to a special cocktail hour version of Security Guy Radio with my very special in-studio co-hostess, my sister.
Favorite sister.
Oh, I beg your pardon, my favorite sister, Miss Jaylene Brooks.
Good morning.
Or should I say Jaylene Cougar Brooks? Isn't that the proper title? Now, Jaylene just so happens to be, aren't you the top producer at Kink FM in Portland?
Well, I'd like to think I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I'm definitely on the team.
Yeah, so
Yep.
she does sales in Kink FM 101.9 in Portland, Oregon. One of the oldest stations in Portland, right?
Yeah.
Almost
one of
as
the
old as
oldest.
you, isn't that correct?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, almost 50 years old. We're creeping up there.
That's amazing.
I've
It's a
been
good
there
station.
12 years. Yeah.
Now, it's funny that it should be called Kink because let's talk about the demographics of Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
Highest number of breweries per capita.
And strip joints.
And strip joints.
Yes.
And most promiscuous city in all of America.
Possibly so.
So it's appropriate name they would call it Kink
It
FM.
is perfect. I hope they never change it.
So Jaylene's just on a visit down here to my nephew, and her son is graduated. We're going to take him back up to Portland tomorrow and drive up there.
Road trip.
Road trip, be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Lots of fun.
So she wanted to come in and check out my smaller market radio station here, not the big market like Kink FM in
It's great,
Portland.
though.
It's kind of nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, I love this station. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot
Yeah.
of fun. Now, it's funny, just a coincidence, I did say cocktail hour appropriately.
Well,
Do you know why I said that?
I'm thirsty, but I'm empty-handed. Not sure what's going on there.
There's no alcohol allowed in internet
No
radio
alcohol.
broadcasting. That's one of those
That's a
rules.
shame.
Because we're going to talk about the Cocktails with Canines anniversary celebration and fundraiser. Something really specific that most people I don't think have heard of. And we're going to talk with a very special guest and welcome her right now, Miss Lynn Sherlock. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, so Lynn is a board member of Veterans Moving Forward, and they specialize in placing service dogs with military veterans with PTSD specifically, or disabilities, physical disabilities, or TMI. Was that correct?
TBI, traumatic brain injury.
TBI, that's right. So Lynn, tell me, you got a fascinating background. So you're Skyping in from Washington, D.C., right?
Right.
And tell me about your background. It's really amazing.
Well, I appreciate you asking that. Yeah, I retired from the United States Air Force 4 years ago, to this month, as a matter of fact. Had about 30 years of service.
Wow. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. Flew airplanes, had a lot of fun doing that, but also served at the Pentagon like every officer should get an opportunity to do.
Yeah.
And
You
I
were a
finished-
general when you retired, right?
I did retire as a one-star general,
Wow.
and I was in the service in my last tour as in Air Force International Affairs, so I worked with our partner air forces around the world.
Very fascinating. Now, how did you come to be associated with Veterans Moving Forward, and explain what that organization does?
Very good. Well, a friend of mine who was on the board recognized that they needed an Air Force person on the board. They had all the other services covered, and he knew how much I wanted to get involved in nonprofits after I retired. And he asked me to join the board, to be the Air Force rep, and obviously I said yes as soon as I had an opportunity to look into the organization and meet the wonderful people that are volunteers. And this is an all-volunteer organization to provide service dogs for military veterans. So it's a neat organization. It's been around for 5 years, just had its anniversary this past summer, which is an important milestone, because if you as a nonprofit get to that 5-year milestone, then it's there's a good shot at you succeeding and continuing on into the future to provide services, and to have a good donor base, the ability to be able to reach out and to be able to get different assistance to keep your organization growing.
Well, that's good. And we're going to say this many times throughout the show, but the event is Cocktails with Canines. It's the anniversary celebration, 5-year anniversary, and fundraiser. Now that is next Sunday, or this coming Sunday, November 8th, 2015, from 6 p.m. To 8. No, I'm sorry. 5:30 is registration. 6 to 8, and it's the Army Navy Club in Arlington, Virginia. Did I get that right?
It's the Army Navy Country Club.
Okay.
In Arlington, which is very near the Pentagon in that area. But yes, that is right, a 2-hour event.
Now, if people want to donate but they can't attend, obviously, how can we get them to donate? Let's get this part done, and then we'll go back into talking about what you guys provide. But how can they donate to your organization?
That would be great. They could go right to our website at www.vetsforward.org, and it is vetsfwd.org.
All right, excellent. And I know you guys have a lot of big sponsors. I was seeing on your website.
We've had a great response this year to people specifically sponsoring this event and those that have been supporting us over the last several years.
Yeah, I see United Technologies, Military Heroes Campaign, Track International, Dynacor, Piedmont, Canine Support,
Yes.
Big Capital Bank, Freedom Bank. Yeah, a lot of good sponsors.
Right.
Now, it's really a complete coincidence that we're talking about this with you today, because on my last show last week, I had a young lady on, Kim Jackson, who wrote a book about PTSD. Now, she's a survivor of domestic violence, and interestingly, what happened after I posted the video, a lot of controversy, right? I got a lot of people from the military coming out and criticizing the show, saying, well, she can't have PTSD because she's not a veteran. And what is your experience with that? I mean, I know you're specifically a veterans organization, but help us define PTSD as it relates to veterans specifically, and some of the challenges they have, or some of the brain injury that makes the dog program so valuable.
Right. Yeah, PTSD is a real problem. The numbers of veterans are in the hundreds of thousands.
Really?
That have post-traumatic stress. Exactly. And so, we are very focused in our organization on helping veterans with PTSD, TBI, along with their physical ailments. So when veterans apply to get a service dog, and we can get into the whole process, but it is a very comprehensive process. We frankly try to take the toughest cases and those that we think a service dog would make a huge difference in their lives. And that's the exact experience that we had and are continuing to have. You specifically asked about PTSD. I will tell you that one of the individuals that has one of our dogs has both traumatic brain injury from something I think that happened before she got in the service, but she had PTSD from being in the service, and she was not in combat. So PTSD can occur from, everything from, a nurse and having to experience taking care of some really poorly injured, badly injured service men and women, as well as people that have sexual assault. You can have post-traumatic stress from stress in many different ways. So I would say that PTSD is more than military service. Really.
Yeah, we had some numbers and statistics about police officers and firefighters and people in those groups, nurses, things like that. Yep. And it affects everybody differently. I was exposed to a lot of things as a police officer that I was fine with, right? But somebody else might have had the same experience and just had a different reference point to it. And I've always thought it's really kind of a physical manifestation of a reoccurrence of fear. In other words, you're fearing something's going to happen again. And you know what? I think that's a good thing that you're afraid something's going to happen again. So it doesn't happen again. And it's just your ability to cope with that mechanism. And some people, it just keeps reoccurring. I think it causes an issue. And there's a lot of, things like adrenaline driven and fear and things like that. So I know that dogs just in general are used in a lot of hospital settings, just in general for healing, right? People with cancer and things like that.
And for the blind.
And the blind, right.
Yeah.
So is this a new concept to have the service dogs for PTSD? Are you the only organization that does that?
No, I would say that a lot of organizations that are specifically veteran related, but certainly could be others, are using service dogs in many ways. So it is for the physical disabilities, but also for the mental challenges that are associated with both PTSD and TBI. So it's not new, but we really are discovering just how powerful it is. And to be able to see a veteran, which we have several cases of this, where they were so debilitated by their mental health challenges that it was really affecting their quality of life with their family, with their friends, just being able to get out of the house. Kind
of translated into their ability to physically get up and move around and do things. Not physically because they're injured, but the mentality makes them house locked, basically. They want to stay home and just not move around.
Yeah, we have one veteran that has one of our service dogs, got the dog, I think, about a year and a half ago, and he didn't even know his neighbors, or I should say they didn't know him. But once he got this service dog and he got the confidence to be able to go outside and has a responsibility to take his dog for a walk and continue his training, so it's a mutually beneficial relationship. He got to know his neighbors, and it really just highly improved his quality of life, of being able to get back out into the community and be happy again.
So you have different types of dogs. So we have a therapy dog, right? So a therapy dog, I'm reading off your website,
Yes.
participate in animal-assisted therapy with specific goals, objectives, and progress documented by a healthcare professional. And that would be more for the mental benefit. Is that correct?
Right. So basically, you take a dog that has been trained to do the same kind of things that an individual service dog does, but rather than providing this dog for a one-on-one, this dog may be more suited to work in a therapeutic area and have a doctor perhaps or some type of professional that works with numerous people. So this therapy dog would be a part of someone's sessions in order to be able to give them the help that they need. So they can meet with multiple people during one day.
So they help with, it says here, with physical skills, actually, gross motor skills in case you were physically impaired. And then there's a therapeutic reaction to your motor skills and, or leisure activities that helps. And then talk about the psychological effects of that. How does that, I know having a pet of any kind really raises people's happiness levels in a lot of ways. But specifically for our veterans, how does it really help them?
Well, when a veteran is having, as you had mentioned, there are different manifestations of when somebody has, we'll go with PTSD. It could be that they get very anxious. It could be that they have nightmares. It could be that they just can't relate to other people around them because they're shutting down. So what we do is we introduce the dog to the veteran and we see them interact with the dog. And we teach the dog to recognize when an individual is having one of these manifestations of their PTSD.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So let's say it's somebody that's having a nightmare. We teach the dog that, the individual, whatever they talk, they yell, they thrash about, whatever it is that causes them to have a nightmare, we teach the dog to recognize this and that this is a bad thing. And we teach them then what's the best remedy. Sometimes for an individual, it's turn the light on. Some of them, it's nudge them till they're awake so that they don't get into the full-blown nightmare and they can just fall back to sleep.
A dog is actually trained to recognize that I'm sleeping and having a nightmare.
Exactly.
That is fascinating.
We have another one, and I've met Josh with his veteran, and actually Josh and his veteran are members of our team. And I've been in meetings where we're talking about things, and his veteran is getting kind of getting into it, and we see Josh get up on the ground from the floor and start to nudge his veteran. And he looks down at Josh and he says, "Well, Josh says I'm getting too excited and I need to calm down." So we're going to go outside. So the dogs do recognize it. We teach other dogs that when we have one veteran who is on medications for her anxiety, and she is unable to recognize the anxiety right away, but her dog recognizes that she is starting to get really stressed. And this might be, and I don't know her exact manifestations, but it could be that she's wringing her hands, or she's rubbing her leg or her face, and the dog recognizes that those are her manifestations and tries to get her attention. And if she doesn't get her meds or calm down, he will literally go get her meds because we've taught the dog where it is. We train with their very specific bag full of meds and where will that be located in the house. We actually do house visits so that we can see what their daily activities are and how the dog might be able to help them. So it can get very specific on the training, and we find that the impact of that is so amazing that many of these veterans come off of their medications because the impact of having these service dogs is so great.
Well, certainly there's been research on dogs identifying cancer in patients through smell, right?
Right.
And, I live in L.A., right? So earthquakes happen all the time, and if there's a semi-big one, the dogs go crazy before it happens.
Exactly.
So there's some sensitivity there. And I just had no idea it was at this level of sophistication that they can recognize that. That would have a huge impact. To me, I would feel, if I had a dog like that, I would feel like somebody gets it, right? Obviously, my dog gets it because he's recognizing it, and that's a start, and then you help other people have the empathy to understand it and deal with it. Now, do the dogs on the traumatic brain injury, that's a little different, I suppose, right? Because now you have some cognitive impairment that maybe you can't, pick up your bag or you can't move certain things. Do these dogs help with physical duty, so to speak, with the patients, veterans?
Absolutely, they do. As a matter of fact, we have one veteran And if you look on our website, you can actually see his story. That's Joey. And Joey fell from a roof, and this was after he had left the military, and he had traumatic brain injury, and it was very serious. And it took him a long time to physically be able to get better, and again, that video will show it. But Joey has problems identifying things as a result of his TBI. He doesn't know the difference between his wallet, his keys, his cell phone.
Oh, interesting.
So we were able to train Katrina, where he says to her, Katrina, go get my wallet. And Katrina knows the difference between those items and brings to Joey what he needs.
Oh, interesting. So he can mentally articulate what he's looking for, but the brain can't make the connection to physically take it.
That's correct.
Oh, very interesting.
Katrina goes and gets it for him. It's a great video if you have a chance to see it.
Go ahead, ask a question.
Yeah,
yes,
I have
yes,
a
you can ask
so
a question.
What's the process in the training with these animals? It's got to be just hours and hours.
Absolutely. Well, the initial training is we get puppies from about the 8-week point.
And that's where you usually start, 8 weeks?
It is. It's usually where we can literally go to a group of puppies and be able to give them some tests. Not all of them, even in a really strong litter, will at that point be able to take direction. And so we will go take a look of a litter of 8 puppies, and there might be 1 or 2 that already show signs of being a good service dog. So we will get that dog, give it to one of our volunteer puppy raisers, and they raise the dog in their home, but they go to training once or twice a week at times to be able to teach them basic skills. So that first year, that first 6 months really, it's just teaching them to be a good dog and following the rules and knowing, where it's going to eat and go to the bathroom and not to get on the furniture and that kind of stuff. So to teach it really good rules of citizenship. And about that 6-month point, then you start in the more specific training for being a service dog, and that lasts for about another 6 to 9 months. And then when they get to that point where they're about 18 months old, we start looking for a veteran to match with the dog.
Oh, specifically person to personality of the dog.
Exactly.
Oh.
And for us, it's not something where we meet a veteran, determine that they can benefit from a dog, and then hand the dog to them. We actually have a several-step program to match them and give them very specific training before the dog is turned over.
What type of dogs do best in this type of work?
We mostly do Goldens and Labs,
Oh.
but we do have some other breeds. But we find that those are not only acceptable in society. So when you got your service dog out, those are easy animals for other people.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. My 150-pound Rottweiler would not do well going to the restaurant and sitting down next to me because everybody would leave. So, yeah, those are socially acceptable dogs that people like and gravitate towards. And they have good personalities and stuff.
They do. They're great personalities, and they're very trainable.
So how would I apply for a service dog if I was a veteran or a person in need of this?
We have an application that's right on our website, and we realize that sometimes filling out paperwork is very difficult for some veterans who maybe have some mental challenges. And so they can always call our number as well, and we can kind of walk them through it and help them fill that out. And once that application's done and we receive it, then we go through and we have a conversation with the veteran, and we have some medical professionals that are volunteers with our organization who will always work with their medical professionals, because we need to come to a mutual agreement that they're ready for a service dog to help them.
Right.
Somebody that's just been through an accident wouldn't be, but that doesn't necessarily mean they shouldn't start the process of applying, because they may be able to be accepting a future puppy as a service dog when they are ready. So apply online, apply with us over the phone, and then we'll get the process started.
How long does it take from the first phone call to a placement? Is it a year? Is it 6 months? Or
No, we can do that in a matter of 3 to 6 months if they are ready and we have a dog that's in the training pipeline.
Yeah.
To go through the initial paperwork and to make sure everything is straight in the paperwork and talking to the medical professionals, that's going to be a couple of months. And then the actual matching process takes a couple of months, because we meet with the individual. Then, as I told you before, we'll actually go to their home. One time we went to a veteran's home that was going to get a dog, and we decided he needed a fenced backyard to let that dog go and be a dog. And we had a volunteer organization near us actually put that fence up for that young man. And so we do a home visit, and then we began the matching process, which could take several weeks. And part of that is meet the dog. What are your specific needs? So there's where we learn, well, what are 3 things that this dog can do for you? Get the meds, help you with your anxiety. Maybe you also have a physical ailment. You need stability going upstairs, so we practice that. And then when we transfer the dog over, we allow the dog to go home with them and see how it's working. And then we check in with them at their home. So this is a process that could go on for 6 months to 3 years after we place the dog. We stay with them, and we think that is unique among organizations like ours, that we stay with them because we want this to succeed so much for them to improve their quality of life. And we know it's not an instant bond. We know it's not. We know that their relationship will continue to develop. Maybe new problems will manifest of themselves. So this is a continual process to make sure that that dog and veteran are doing the best they can together.
So you have a pretty high placement rate. In other words, we're not going to switch a dog with somebody 3 times. You're going to get it right the first time or the second time.
Exactly. And right now everything is working well. Of course, we're only 5 years old, so we've placed 7 dogs, but I will tell you, we have 9 dogs right now, and you can see all their pictures on the website.
I saw that.
The newest one, Dutch, which we got just a few days ago.
They're ready to be placed, and you're looking for homes.
Not all of them. A
Oh.
couple of them are. Prince and King are in the process of being placed. They're the 2 oldest. But the rest of them are not old enough yet, and they're still in their training.
So let's talk about the cost of this, because we got to be practical, okay? So the service industry says it costs about $35,000 to $50,000 to raise, train, and place an assistant dog. And I don't know if that's your specific cost, but it's probably something very close. And they're saying for a comfort dog, it's about $6,500, about $12,500 for a therapy dog, $15,000 to $20,000 for a facility dog. That's a lot of dough, right?
Yes.
But boy, I get asked to, as you probably do too, right, to donate to a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things I'm hesitating to donate money for are things I don't see a result. Sounds good that you're going to take the money and do something with it, but I don't see anything tangible. I won't see anything tangible. I'm going to take your word for it as an organization, right? But I see this as something, if I donate to, I see a result. In other words, there's not 20,000 dogs out there, and I don't know which one. If you only have a couple hundred dogs, and my money's going right to those people. And I mean, I could see people wanting to say, I want to sponsor Dutch. You give this money, then I'm sending you to Dutch, and then Dutch is going to help that guy. I think this is a very worthwhile and different from a charity donation perspective. I think we can see some actual real results helping people. What, by the way, do you have any idea what your, I mean, these are some hard dollar costs that I think most organizations wouldn't have, where some charities are like, give me the money, and then we're going to take 25% for administration, right? And that takes a lot of dough that doesn't go to the people that need the money. But I think a lot of your money here is going to go to these training to these dogs. That seems to be your biggest cost. Am I right?
Yeah, the vast majority of the costs go to the acquisition of the dog, the training of the dog, and the placement of the dog. So when a veteran comes to us, we cover the cost for their hotel and their transportation, and for flying the dog back to them. So, if they're able to get some assistance from local veterans groups, which some do, to help defray that cost, that then starts to reduce the amount. $35,000 is the going rate, but when you can maybe a veterinarian, we're very blessed that we have a lot of partners out there and veterinarians that don't charge us for their services, and give us a break on the supplies.
Now, is there a cost to the actual vet for the dog?
Yeah, some of them give it to us completely free. Others are not able to do that. Maybe it's 50%. So if you ask me, it's kind of different dog to dog and veterinarian.
Oh, I got my vets mixed up. I meant a veteran instead of a veterinarian.
Oh.
Yeah, a cost to the vet, to the service veteran. Is there a cost to them?
There is no cost for our services to provide a service dog to the veteran.
Wow, that's outstanding.
Absolutely. And like I said, maybe it helps us defray how much money we directly pay for it, because some of them go to their local VFW and get a little bit of assistance, or other veteran organizations, which helps us to reduce the cost. But we do not charge the veteran for this service.
And do you provide the food and all of that?
We do.
Wow.
Well, I'm sorry. Let me back that up. For our puppy raisers and such, some of them voluntarily, buy the food and such. But for the veteran, once the dog is in the veteran's hands, they will buy their food for the dog, and they will get veterinary care. Although we do help them find a veterinarian and try to get them reduced costs for when they have the dog.
What's involved in an in-person interview if I come in and interview for a dog, I'm a veteran.
Right.
What is that interview about? Is it? I mean, do you ever deny people to say, we don't think you're a match for our service?
Well, once they get to the point where we think that they can accept a dog because they're physically and mentally in a position to be able to care for an animal, or we also work with people that have caregivers and helpers that will, get them through this process.
Oh yeah.
Once they meet with us in person, now it's a matter of which dog is best for you, especially if we have, several that are available to be placed. So we look at their compatibility and we look at their specific needs. If somebody needs a dog that's going to help them up the steps, then maybe one of the dogs is a little bit better and shows a propensity to helping somebody. They lean into them. They don't mind hands being put on them and the weight of a person being put on the dog. Other dogs don't have that personality, but they're better at other skills. So we learn what the veteran needs, but we also know very much what are the strengths of the dogs that we train, and they're not all the same.
Now, what is the training program for the veteran? I assume he has to be trained. The dog's just not going to magically do whatever he says, and they're going to keep a book of commands, and that must be a big process.
Yeah, and that is part of our process as well. We've taught the dog to do various things with various commands. We teach the veteran the same thing, so that we are all given the same communications with the dog, and that doesn't change when they go home. And we also work with a local trainer. Some of our veterans live close to us, so we continue to work with them personally. Others live in other states, but we find trainers that will continue to work with the dog to continue the process for that first couple of years.
Now, do the dogs respond to anybody, or are they what we call in the canine world single owner or family owner? You know what I mean? Like some dogs respond to a family group, some dogs only respond to one owner. How are these dogs trained?
We're training them to respond and be attentive to their veteran. And that's what the important part is we don't want them getting distracted
Right.
when they're around other people. I have to tell you a story. You guys have heard of Honor Flight, right? Where the World War II veterans come to Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
Well, we go to those events and we meet up with those veterans with our dogs in training to provide almost a comfort service, because obviously they're not trained one-on-one with these World War II veterans, but they are already being attentive enough and to know what their job is. I saw one of our dogs on the site had to be, maybe 11, 12 weeks old, so very much a puppy. But it had already been with our lead trainer for about 1 month. And I literally saw this puppy go up to a World War II veteran, sit down, and that locked eyes with this veteran for a solid 5 minutes. And this veteran was reaching down and petting him and talking to little Eagle. And there were dogs and kids. It was a beautiful day in Washington, D.C. Kites flying, noise, airplanes going by, dogs barking that were not even a part of our organization. And this little puppy Eagle focused on that veteran. And that's what we teach our dogs to do. This is their job, to focus on that veteran.
So if a veteran is out in public and has a significant event, possible physical disability, and they can't move or something happens, that dog is staying by the master's side. Are they trained to alert other people somehow? If the dog's owner is down or out, can they run outside? Can they push a 911 button designed for a dog or something? You know what I'm saying? Like a life alert for an animal.
If we saw that was a need for a particular veteran, we would teach them that skill. So
interesting.
I don't know that we've taught a dog that particular skill, but if we do know that we have one veteran is in a wheelchair, for example, and so the dog has learned, we've taught that dog a particular skill to go push that silver button that's on the door,
Right.
In order to open it. And if they needed to wear a bracelet, or if there was something that would need to be alert if the person was unresponsive, I would be fascinated to see if we could teach that dog somehow to be able to use that life alert.
Well, there's so much technology nowadays, that so many possibilities. It's amazing. What type of response do you get from the neighbors of the veterans to the dogs? Do you see that the veteran goes out and interacts more with the neighbors now that they have this dog and things like that?
They absolutely do. I was telling you about the one veteran who never left his home. And that was the veteran in the wheelchair. And he now parades up and down the street. They all come up to say hello to him and the dog. And he has become social again, which has really improved his quality of life. You'll see in Joey's video, if you go back and watch that Joey is well known around his town. He goes to the gym. He goes to his favorite restaurant. And they they all go up to him and interact with him now. So the more that they become social, the more their quality of life improves, and it does make a difference. And the neighbors are supportive.
Do the service dogs help the veterans obtain employment? Can they take? Well, I know they can. In California, you can take a service dog to work. I understand that part, but does that help them try to get back into a vocation that maybe they can help support themselves with?
It does, because it allows them to be a lot more stable in their lifestyle, and it allows them to be able to go to work for numerous hours a day. Maybe they even reduce their medications, and many of them do, and allow them to be able to go into an office setting and work. It does allow them to get back into the job.
Do you find that the veterans in your group tend to live alone more than be in a family situation? I'm just curious. I don't know.
We got quite the mixture. We've got one veteran that's married and has a young child. We've got other veterans that live with their parents. That's Joey, as his parents are helping him out. We've got others that maybe just have a nurse that come in and see them as part of their care. So it really is a pretty good mixture. And they can have other animals too. It's not like that this is the only animal that they would have in their home. They could have another pet as well.
Oh, I was wondering about that. If there's an interaction, probably has to be trained as well. If you had an aggressive dog in the home, you got to make sure everybody's oriented properly, that kind of thing.
Right. They'd have to be compatible, but if one dog gets on the couch, the service dog would not do that, but it wouldn't necessarily prevent the other dog to be able to continue to live the way it is, as long as it's not aggressive.
See what an interesting show I have, sister? Aren't you glad you came down?
Yes.
Yeah, you should have her on Kink.
I should.
Yeah, we'll see.
I was going to ask, so how do you network to some of these hospitals and to the veteran
how do you get your word out there?
businesses? Yeah, how do you advertise and promote?
We do visit local USOs. We visit some local hospitals or veteran communities. So we get the word out there. But a lot of it is organizations have Disability Day. I've been to 2 of those in just the last month, where we came in and gave a briefing about, and brought the dogs, a couple of them, about veterans being helped by service dogs. And so that's how the word gets out, is through other veteran organizations as well that we communicate with. And so we get word out about them, they get word out about us.
Well, we have about 30,000 listeners on my show a week, and we want to make sure we get that out. And I know a lot of service people listen, and police and things. Would any other type of people be eligible for your program at this point? Strictly veterans, or police, fire, nurses, that kind of thing? Anybody else?
Now, we're strictly veterans at this point, and it doesn't have to be somebody that's retired. The injury could have even occurred after they left the service.
As long as they were military, okay.
As long as they're military.
All right, so let's get some money here, right? I had a guy for a fundraiser last year for a movie about domestic violence, and he got $15,000 in 2 days. I'm going to try and beat that. All right. I want everybody to send some money to Veterans Moving Forward, and spell the website for me because it's a little different. It's vets.
That's forward, so it's VETSFWD.org.
All right. Now I noticed on here having a raffle at your anniversary celebration on November 5th at the Army Navy Country Club in Arlington, Virginia. It says, "Do not need to be present to win." So that's good. And the raffle gets a chance to win 2 round-trip airline tickets anywhere in the continental United States, up to $2,000 courtesy of Delta Airlines. That's a big prize.
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah.
And anybody can sign up for that.
So if you go to the website and find the donate button and find the event button and donate to the cause, I think that would be a great little prize to win. And you're really giving you something I just think is very specific. That's why I like it. What do you think? Isn't this neat? You ever heard of this?
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, the building I work in Portland, we have guide service dog training all the time. You see them come in and they're being trained to open the door and stop at lights and everything. And it is fascinating. And I hear the graduation of that process is just hands down amazing. You're shedding tears, and it's such an emotional thing when these dogs go through this entire process and, they're graduating and going to their new home and whatnot. It's such a feel-good thing. Now, and it's helping people. I mean, it is.
It's direct result of actions.
It is.
Lynn, what's a brick and mortar address, if you have one, for less than internet inclined folks that maybe don't want to click on buttons and stuff? They could write for information or write to send you guys some money or send a check in or something. Where can we mail that check to?
Fantastic. Thanks for asking. That's 909 North Washington Street, Suite 410 in Alexandria, Virginia, 22314, and it is at the bottom of the website page.
right, say that one more time, and I'm going to put this up on the show too. Maybe Mr. Jarvis, you can type that in and show. Say it one more time.
909 North Washington Street, Suite 410, Alexandria, Virginia 22314.
All right, excellent. Well, this has been a really interesting show. I always learn something when I have interesting guests, and this is such a good organization. I'd really encourage everybody. You know what? If everybody sent $1, you'd get $30,000, and that would pay for one dog, right?
That would be fantastic.
How easy is that? The dollar's nothing, right?
Yeah, that's great work you do. Congratulations.
Very
You
nice.
must be super proud.
Well, Lynn, thanks a lot for coming in. I'm gonna put this up on YouTube and our website. I'll send you a link, and we can get this out for a whole week. I'll put it on LinkedIn, and let's spread the word and get some donations to this really, really, it's just an amazing cause. And I'm very proud and respectful of all veterans. Most of my family have been in the services, Army, Air Force, Navy. I did not go in myself, Miss Lynn, because I would have been court-martialed in 5 minutes. I just don't have that sort of personality to have somebody tell me what to do, which is why I have great respect for the armed services. It's really what makes America what it is. It makes America great. So, Len, thanks for coming in and Skyping in from Washington, D.C., and join us next week on Security Guy Radio. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, the girls' site, securityguyradio.com, Security Guy Radio, the mobile app, and, of course, right here at our wonderful ubnradio.com. Mr. Jarvis, thanks for coming in today for our special edition. And Miss Lynn, good luck to you and your organization. Let's keep in touch.
Thank you very much. I sure will.
Thanks.